All right, Mr. Flay, I need you to lie down here and open your mouth big and wide for me.
Okay.
All right, and for your information, it appears as if you might have a cavity. Let me look at that. Hey, are you a dentist? All right, I'm gonna need you to stop. I'm gonna anesthetize you. Okay. Yeah. Now it looks like you have a cavity, and do you brush daily? Yeah, I didn't think you did. And floss? Yeah, I'm not even gonna ask that. Yeah. Okay. All done with you. So we're gonna need to get that cleaned, and I'm gonna take this out. No, we're not. No. I'm gonna take this out for now. Okay. All right. And our attendant is gonna talk with you real quick about.
Excuse me, Mr. Flay. Mr. Flay, your insurance is not gonna cover this.
How is my insurance not gonna cover it?
It's okay. I've had enough of you people.
I have Obamacare. I've been using it for 4 years.
Yeah, it was denied. The app's not working either.
The app is not working? How is that? I made it.
I think it was the Russians in Twitter.
How it work?
It's the Russian hackers again?
So I can't pay for it. I'm broke. I already spent all my money endorsing Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election.
You know what? I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna let the doctor take care of this.
I'm gonna defer this to my attendant.
Well, I do have Febreze if you would like me to sell it.
That's not gonna do, Mr. President.
But it's Air's linen and sky.
That's
the wrong car!
This procedure costs $3,000 minimum. And if you need ibuprofen during it, that's an extra $40 per pill.
But it's 100% natural. It's a propellant. I will tell you. Very interesting.
Mr. President, that's not necessary.
You should not store it in a vehicle. If you do store it in the vehicle, the contents are under pressure.
I know what's in Febreze. I memorized that in 5th grade as my presentation. So we're just.
It's in my eyes!
I told you we didn't want it!
You can't stop the Febreze. It smells too fresh.
No! Kill me now!
I don't brush. I smell good and look good. Don't smell my mouth.
Can Joe Biden approve that statement?
He can't speak on his own.
Cut! Welcome back to the podcast. This is Richard. Beside me is
Braden Bird.
Michael Wilkes.
And Keegan.
I'm not gonna give you my last name, so when I run for president, you don't know who I am. Alright, we're gonna begin with our Bible verse, presented by Micah.
Bible verse of the day, Romans 8:1. There is therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Well, the verse says it all.
Very good. Now news from Graydon. The music. No, I'll edit it in, people. Hold on, we were having technical difficulties.
Why is it doing that?
The network got hacked.
Russians again.
Not again.
Alright, we're ready.
In news today, an Arizona man is suing a body donation company for selling his mother's body to the military for blast testing. Jim Stauffer believed his mother's body would be used for medical research. Instead, it was used to test bomb impact. More than 5 years ago, Mr. Stauffer's mother, Doris, died in hospice care after suffering from Alzheimer's. Stauffer donated his mother's body to the Biological Resource Center, hoping it could be used for Alzheimer's research. Years later, a reporter, Fro Reuters, contacted Mr. Stauffer's with some shocking news. In 2016, Reuters found that more than 20 dead bodies were donated to an Arizona broker were actually used in a U.S. Army blast experiments. This was without the consent of the deceased or next of kin, and for some, it was against the family's objections. Some families did not learn about these experiments from the Army, but rather from the reporter. Such was the case of Mr. Stoffers, who has since joined 32 other people in suing BRC. Stoffers learned from the reporter that his mother's body was used in an Army experiment measuring the damage caused by roadside bombs. Doing this without the permission of donors or relatives is a violation of the U.S. Army policy. BRC sold the donated bodies to like Doris Stoffers for $5,893 each. BRC is no longer in business, but over a decade, they were able to sell more than 20,000 parts from about 5,000 human bodies, according to a reporter. This is one of a multi-part investigation series by the FBI.
Wait, does that mean that bodies only have 4 parts?
Yes.
No. It was a multi-part investigation, so they looked at all the parts. Yeah.
Wait.
Hold on.
Oh wait, what? That did not make sense.
That's not quite what that means.
It was an.
We
had 20,000 pieces.
I know it was an explosive take, all right, but you're just gonna need to hear me out, all right?
Okay. All right. I'm listening. I'm hearing you.
No, that was
Okay. Continue.
The civil suit.
ear, and
No, they probably have a lot of ears.
They have yours.
Yeah.
The civil suit filed this week revealed disturbing new details about the 2014 FBI raid at the facility. During the BRC raid, which was a multi-state investigation, the FBI found a bucket of body parts and bodies of different people sewn together at the facility.
whoa.
That's great.
One FBI agent testifies that he found a cooler filled with male genitalia, a bucket of heads, arms, and legs, infected heads, and a small woman's head sewn on a large male torso, like Frankenstein, hanging up on the wall.
Whoa.
That is pretty
Yeah.
cool that they stored them in coolers, I will admit. Sorry, that joke fell flat.
Failed joke with Keegan.
Failed joke.
Was this
Failed
the
pun.
company that sold them, or is this the military?
Yeah, no, the company that sold
okay.
them, they did a raid on their company and found all these bodies
That's
that were like
nasty.
sewn together, and it was, yes, but they also sold these bodies to the military.
That's like
For-
some profit right there. I
Well,
gotta imagine.
For the exact price of $5,893 each.
Nice.
They got the bodies down to a science.
Wow. Each part is down to a specific price.
That was
Yikes.
awful.
Yeah, that's,
All right.
that's pretty terrible, actually.
Moving on.
No,
Never mind. I lied.
Yeah.
in other news, in less harsh-toned news, a British man who feared he was going deaf, he used a home endoscope kit and discovered a piece of an earbud had been stuck in his ear for about 5 years.
Oh.
Wallace Lee of Weymouth, Dorset, said that he had been experiencing hearing loss for the past few years and ended up buying a home endoscope kit to see if he could identify the issue. The tiny camera alerted him to a small white object in his ear. 5 years ago, I was visiting my family in Australia. I bought these little earplugs that you can put different attachments in, depending on the noise you want to phase out of the aircraft. Lee told, one of these little attachments was lodged in there and it had been there ever since. Lee visited an ear, nose, and throat surgeon who was able to remove the offending object. Instantly, I could hear everything in the room. The fog that was in my head for all those years went and left. I could hear perfectly well.
Aw.
That's pretty crazy.
Pretty interesting.
5 years?
I wonder, he's just like
Dude.
sleeping on the plane or something. He's just like lays on it the wrong way and just gets lodged in there. That's
You'd think if, like, that would be hearing loss immediately.
yeah.
And then you don't go anywhere for 5 years?
No, he's like, oh yeah, that's normal. It's just like, congestion, right? Just need to blow my
Oh, he
nose.
thought it was the altitude.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That
That's-
makes sense.
That's pretty
Alrighty.
stupid. I'm gonna be honest. That guy,
Pretty stupid.
that guy definitely should have went to the doctor beforehand.
Now for Micah's take with Micah. I once again put in. Alright.
Okay. So I'm including that brief pause here because I forgot I had Micah's take. So quick thoughts.
Just give one line.
Okay.
Something random, funny.
Okay.
you're clean when you get out of the shower, how does your towel get dirty?
Okay, all right. So that was Micah's take, and I've heard this question so many times, so I have to explain it because there are too many people that ask this question in all seriousness. So, if you're clean when you get out of the shower, how does your towel get dirty? This is how. You dry off your body, which is wet. The water gets into the towel, which then grows mold. That is how your towel gets dirty, and is why you need to wash your towel.
This is GMO mold, so it grows a lot faster.
Listen.
Homeschool not like that. Just for reference.
Just had to clarify because I've heard that question way too many times in all seriousness. So...
Yeah, no, I wasn't really being serious, but...
You're smarter than that. I got you.
But
yeah, I know my towel gets dirty.
Okay, but hold on. If you drop soap on the ground, is
All right, we're not gonna go
ground
here.
dirty or clean, and is the soap dirty or clean? I don't understand. Like, you drop the soap on the ground, is the floor now clean, or has the floor dirtied the soap?
These are the questions of life.
All right, now for our next segment, Media Matters with Keegan Hunt. So, Keegan, before we start, let's get a little synopsis of your life in 1 or 2 sentences. Have you accomplished anything in your life?
Well, you see, no, I'm kind of an under-accomplishist. I think of myself as, I don't know, someone who doesn't accomplish many things. Yeah.
Okay. So why are we having you on this podcast?
Well, we're gonna look at how media matters. Pun.
Smart man.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna start with our first topic. Give me a short overview of the 2022 election and party strategies.
Oh man. So.
And this is an opinion.
Yeah,
podcast.
I gotcha. Man, so the 2022 elections, kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people were expecting a lot different of an outcome. I mean, on both sides of the party. You were seeing people from the Democrat side looking to lose tons of seats, and then you were seeing on the Republican side where they wanted to gain tons of seats. And they thought since the policies are so bad with inflation, crime, and everything on the rise, that people would want to switch the party system. Now, however that was true in the House and the Senate, it wasn't that true. And you actually see now that we haven't really won the Senate at all. The House of Representatives, even right now, we only have a 12-point lead, which in the Senate, we actually, the Democrats have a 1-point lead. So they're closer to the majority than the Republicans are right now. And obviously, I mean, we thought we were going to take the House and the Senate just because of all the bad things that are happening right now.
And to chime in for just a moment, the Senate will be decided. The Democrats are going to win it either way because of the vice president.
Right.
That will be decided by the Georgia runoff in whenever it is.
Yeah, the Georgia run. I mean, they
December
already have a majority with Kamala Harris to vote right now. Even if we were to get the seat in Georgia, I say we, but I mean the Republicans. If they are to get that seat in Georgia, which
Are you saying you're not a Republican?
I am a Republican. I would say I'm a conservative. Yeah, to hear my political beliefs there, but yeah, even if Walker wins, there's still going to be a majority for the Democrats, which is kind of disappointing. Everyone was looking for a red wave, but really we got a red trickle. So it was definitely an interesting election to say the least.
Any opinions, Micah, Graydon?
It'd be super funny if it were 50-50 again in the Senate.
Yeah, that would be
funny as in ironic.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Not funny.
I mean, if you had 50-50, it wouldn't really
Ben
be.
Shapiro, he would not think it's funny.
No, it wouldn't really be 50-50 though, because you got like Kamala Harris who would vote for any Democrat policy, no matter how stupid it is.
I think it's incredibly sad about the whole runoff election because, I mean, for both parties to neither get over 50% of the vote.
Yeah, in Georgia.
That's just sad.
Yeah, that's really sad. And then the Libertarians got like 4% of the vote. It's like, what is going on? I think in part due to like who is being chosen there. Like Kenneth Walker, is it Kenneth Walker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, Herschel Walker. Why is
Kenneth
Kenneth?
Walker is running back for the
Yeah.
Seahawks.
Yeah, sorry.
Of
Other
course,
one,
of
yeah.
course.
So Herschel Walker, actually a running back in the NFL too, is not the greatest candidate. I would say the only thing he has said as of yet is that it's really weird because he's just running on like, hey, we're not going to spend as much in Senate. That's like pretty much all the Republicans. They're not really hitting like Glenn Youngkin did. Like, hey, this is what's the problem with the education system, and this is how I'm going to solve it. The way Herschel Walker, the way he approached it was kind of like, yeah, they're going to vote for me anyway. Like, I already have an advantage here because of what's going on because of Biden's policies, but really he didn't really have that in the bag, and because of that he kind of let his guard down and I think didn't address key issues.
Which Republicans should lose their job for the failure of getting a majority in the Senate, and who should they be? And then this also applies to candidates such as Donald Trump, who was very vocal about criticizing Republican candidates before the vote and now after not the vote, the election.
Okay, so in the Senate or the House?
Both, because
Both,
we
yeah.
should have. The Republicans should have won a greater majority in the House than they did.
Oh, yeah,
they only picked up 22 seats, I think.
Yeah, we were supposed to pick up close to 40. People were projecting as a conservative number, so we didn't even get close to that, which is it's pretty surprising. But candidates who should have lost their job, I'd have to think on that because there are a lot of people who just haven't done their job the right way, and there are a lot of people who just haven't been advocating for the plans they need to be advocating for. Like, they are representing the people, right? But are they? They really don't seem to be representing the people who voted them in there for in the first place. I would say someone who should definitely keep their seat, and who did keep their seat, obviously, because there was an election, was Glenn Youngkin. He's done great things in Virginia, especially dealing with the school board and all the crazy nonsense that's being spread throughout the schools. I know that's a whole separate issue there. But I think people in the Senate and the House need to follow why people elected them. Like, it's not so that they can go along their own personal vendetta. It's for the people. So I really don't know who should lose their job, though. I mean, I think all the Republicans needed to retain a lot of their seats, and they did. I mean, they lost a couple, but in the majority, they kept a lot. But I think on the Democrat side, that's where you have the problem, and one would be in New York. New York governor specifically, looking at a gubernatorial race there. She was put in because can't remember his name, but he got kicked out for sexual harassment. Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
So he got kicked out because he was a weirdo, then she was put in place.
And killed all the elderly people in the
and killed a lot of elderly people, and he was not the greatest candidate ever. It's funny how a lot of people overlook that, but she hasn't done anything either. I mean, you see crime is upwards of since 2020. I think it's risen like around 30-something%. It's absolutely crazy.
It's as high as it was in the 90s, I think.
Yeah, in the 90s.
In New York specifically?
Yeah,
yes,
New York
in New
specifically.
York.
And it's in like the big cities.
New York City.
It's kind of crazy. But I feel like she should have definitely lost. I feel like someone though, it's a hot button issue that should have also not gotten the election was either of the senators that were in Pennsylvania. So you had what's his name?
Fetterman and Oz.
Yeah, Fetterman and Oz.
Yeah.
So Oz, who wasn't even a true Pennsylvanian, like he wasn't even from Pennsylvania,
And he was a Democrat.
he was he's flip flopped like his whole life on issues. He's been like, oh well, now I'm a conservative, but like 10 years ago he was supporting bills for abortion.
He's basically the conscious version of Joe Biden.
Yeah, it's so weird because he just flip flops on whichever person will like give him the attention, And so he was a terrible candidate for the Republican Party. But then Fetterman, I mean, I don't even have to say much about Fetterman. I mean, he's worse than Joe Biden in the way he's like speaks. Obviously, he had a stroke. I think it's just terrible that his wife, the Democrat Party, his wife and his family still encouraged him to run. Like, that's crazy. He's like disabled, and they're like, no, we're still gonna force you into this. Like, still do this. And it's just like, that's really weird. Like, he should not be there. But I honestly feel like neither should have won. And Fetterman, I would have taken Oz over Fetterman because Fetterman can't even form a coherent sentence. Yeah. And he can't defend his ideas. You see him flip-flopping on key issues like fracking. A while back, he was saying that he was against fracking. Like, I don't want to frack anywhere. I don't want to get new oil or anything like that. But now you see him stuttering along as he says, support fracking? Support fracking? Fracking? True. Very true. Fracking. And it's just like, it's horrible that he had a stroke. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of him for having a stroke, but like at the same time, like
he put himself in that position. Yeah, with the help of his family, he was put in that position.
It shouldn't be discredited that he had a stroke. Like, he's just not capable of office, but they elected him anyway. So that just kind of shows you like the perspective of the people right now is that they're so like illy motivated to vote for somebody who actually is going to do something good for them. They really just don't care. And they're sticking with the same people who have, frankly, screwed them over. And they're saying, like, hey, I'm gonna still vote for you. It's like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But I don't know. I mean, in terms of who should lose their seat, I would say definitely Pennsylvania. Neither of them should have been candidates. I think in the gubernatorial race, Kathy Hochul, I think, and it was Kathy Hochul, I think in New York, she should have not gotten that either, just because of all of her policies and crime, how it's on the rise because of her policies. And then elsewhere in the United States, I mean, can't really say anything about California. They're always going to be blue, so that's the opinion of the public there. But other than that, I mean, it was just a surprising election, all in all.
Micah, you had something?
No.
I was just thinking, what do you think about the phenomenon of the two bad options, right, in voting? Right. Do you think that this is a thing? Why do you think it happened? What's your take?
Yeah, so it's definitely a thing where Democrat Party and Republican Party get two candidates that nobody likes. Specifically, Oz. No one really liked Oz in the Republican Party in the race of Pennsylvania. Just because, I mean, like I said before, he wasn't genuine at all, right? He was someone who didn't stick to his values and would flip-flop all the time. So from a voter perspective, you're looking at him and you're saying, he flip-flops all the time, I don't want to go for him. But Fetterman, I mean, he's only flip-flopped like a couple of times on certain things, but he's still like outspoken about being who he is. He's still more true of a person, this is what from the voters' perspective, still more true of a person than Oz is. So then that's why I feel like you got more votes for Fetterman. But yeah, that definitely you get ill-motivated voter because they don't want to vote for anybody because of, I mean, they know about them. They know they're not going to follow through with their policies that they say they're going to do. And it's just like, well, then I'm not going to vote at all, right? And then you have less voter turnout. I mean, good thing we had a ton of voter turnout, actually the most ever among young people in the 2022 elections. But still, you get that voter who's like, I don't really care that much. They're both bad options, so I'm just not going to vote at all. Or they vote libertarian. They vote for a third party, Green Party, whatever. Yeah. And you've seen like those parties get more votes than ever now. Yeah. Because of that like decision to choose two bad candidates to face off against each other.
So in 1 to 2 statements or sentences. Okay. DeSantis or Trump in 2024?
I would say DeSantis in 2024, just because Trump has kind of, I mean, he's still got a fiery backing to him, right? But he's getting older. And that fire, I mean, I still see it today, but we need someone new, right? You know that if we put him up there, that not a lot of Republicans are going to be like, yes, I want him. And definitely Democrats. You're going to lose all Democrats, right? But if you have someone like DeSantis, who everyone can back behind as being someone who's smart, right? Been to law school, who has dealt with a lot of crises in Florida, won big in the election in Florida, in comparison to when he first got elected. His re-election was crazy, winning by like almost 20 points. But he's a lot more, I feel like, a equal option for both sides. So like the Democrats would be like not as angry about him voting if it was Trump, because obviously they all hate Trump.
And most moderates would vote for DeSantis. While not a single moderate will vote for Trump.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get. I mean, Democrats it's harder to sway, but definitely it's a key voting issue for moderates. Yeah.
And then, if you were president, what would be your 3 major goals or campaign promises?
Okay. Well, I guess first I would say I'm going to put people in prison who need to be in prison, and they're going to stay there. Anyone who breaks the law shall be enforced. Second, I feel like running on freedom of speech is a big one right now too. A lot of people just, I mean, we have the freedom here in America to speak our own opinion, but on platforms like Twitter, which I know we're going to be talking about later, prior to Elon taking over, I mean, there was a lot of problems with like censorship. Like they would censor a person who talked about Trump in the election, but they wouldn't censor Al-Qaeda, who posts like beheadings and like terrible, terrible threats. And it's like, that really doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. And now we're getting to that point where censorship is such a large portion of today's society where people even get canceled for what they say. I mean, obviously, there's a point to that where like you shouldn't be saying like very dangerous things.
You're getting ahead. Okay. What's your 3rd goal?
my third goal, I would not cutting that off. My 3rd goal would probably be in the realm of foreign policy and taking a stronger stance on foreign policy, especially with China, right? Especially with those countries that are looking down at us right now. I mean, Afghanistan and what happened there was a major sign of weakness, and every single country around the world saw that weakness, saw those 13 soldiers die because of how ineffectively we pulled out of there. And it's just like we need to restore kind of like that image of America as like we are a strong nation, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to support the people who we support. We're going to not support the people who we don't want to support. And we need to take firm stances on those. Not just like, hey, yeah, we'll help you out. Like, no, we're going to help you out, and we're going to help you out in this way. And we're going to not help you out because of what you've done and take a firmer stance against countries like Russia, or you see like Ukraine. I mean, obviously we've taken a strong stance on that, but like in other nations around the world, definitely showing our support for the nations we need to, and then obviously combating those who we do not support and who are causing harm.
I just keep your answers a little bit shorter.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Moving on from this election, or I guess moving back from this election. What really happened on January 6th? Gosh, I can't speak.
Well, I mean, it was an insurrection, all right? It was the downfall of democracy. It was horrible. No. I mean, everyone on the January 6th committee and everything like that, it's just like, it's crazy. Like, the nonsense that, I mean, it's just kept being kept being brought up, like, all the time, under every circumstance.
Yeah.
Like, democracy is dying. And there was a main, like, voting contention, too, for the Democrats. It was like, get out there, because we don't want something like this ever happening again. And they would point to that. And I don't know. I mean, what happened, I think, was something called herd mentality. So when you see a lot of people doing a certain thing, you follow through with what other people are doing. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a great thing. And Donald Trump actually, like, completely was against it. I mean, he put out a tweet, put out an Instagram post saying that he was against it, right? And that go home, stop doing what you're doing. And it didn't matter, right? People were already set on what they wanted to do. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I just say that it's something that we need to just move on from. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. I don't think anybody died as a result.
There was one person who died at the scene who was actually a civilian, though. They were
civilian, right?
Yeah.
And then they also, I remember the media talking about how a police officer died, but actually he didn't die. He died later from a heart attack, like a week later, from the quote unquote stress of the situation. It's like it was an interesting dilemma for sure, but I think it's just something we need to move on from.
Was it, as one stated, worse than Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, and worse than... I have a quote here from Nichelle Wallace, who says that it was worse than 9/11.
Yeah, so that is completely stupid. First and foremost, in 9/11, you had over 2,000 people die from a terrorist attack. Like, that was serious. That caused a war in Afghanistan. And then on Pearl Harbor, that caused us being involved in World War II. This is just a talking point for the Democrats to get more people to get out and vote for them. Because that's all it really is. It's nothing more than that, than a voting tool. This is a horrible side, right? This is a horrible side of people, right? I'll take the Republicans, they'll say that's a terrible people. Vote for us. We're better. Nothing like that would ever happen under our rule. Nothing like that would ever happen if you put us in office. In comparison to like 9/11, which was the worst terrorist attack that has ever happened in American history. And for people who compare that to that, you compare January 6th to that and to Pearl Harbor, I say shame on them. Like, that is disgusting.
Yeah.
That's completely just utterly stupid, but at the same time just disgusting. Like, I would vote to cancel them. If I could cancel people, that's who I would cancel. If I could
cancel people,
it's idiots like
they'd
that.
Be done.
It's like, those are the people who we really need to, like, get rid of their opinion, because their opinion is funny and stupid. But actually, it's funny to hear their opinion, though, because it kind of gives us a reality of, like, that's how they see it. And it's crazy.
It's crazy that these people are the ones who are in power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, these are the ones who have a media platform that thousands of people listen to.
Yeah.
Like, these are the opinions of people who actually influence a lot of other people.
Yeah, speaking of the media, they often use, for the sake of democracy, or to save democracy, or to prevent the demise of democracy, whatever. Multiple Democrats this past election said that if we don't win, democracy will fall. Or democracy will have fallen, which is kind of stupid, because if the person voted in by the people wins, isn't that democracy? But, the point being is, how has the left twisted the word democracy?
I feel like it's kind of turned into, if you don't vote for me, then that's not democracy.
Yeah.
If you vote for the other side, it's not democracy.
Micah?
Can we define democracy real quick?
Democracy, it's definitely not a rule by the people, because if that's just mob rule, right?
Well, yeah, I would say a pure democracy is ruled by the people.
Yeah,
but that's not what we have.
But that's like a mob rule. That's like, all right, who wants to kill this person? Everyone raise their hand, and if everyone raises their hand, that person's dead. It's like, no, there's morals behind it. There's a structure to it.
Yeah.
So the democracy that we have is definitely, I would just put it in sense of more of a republic.
Exactly.
It's a democratic republic.
Yeah, right. So we have democratic values, right? The people's voices must be heard. They are the most important, right? But we also have to look at the morals of it. And I feel like that's what our democracy is built on. The Constitution, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, like, these are the rules, right? You break the rules, there's a problem, right? Society isn't going to function. Follow the rules, right? Follow through with the Constitution. This is what's best for all people. This is how all people find freedom. is by following these rules. Without them, then there's no freedom. There's no sanctity of life. There's no this, no that. Follow through with the Constitution, and then you're able to find freedom.
Micah, did you have some?
No, that's
Okay. All right, moving on. Recently, not Joe Biden, my gosh. Elon Musk has purchased Twitter, even though he didn't want to. He pulled out of it due to, I think, a third of the Twitter users being bots.
Yeah.
I think it's a third. Don't fact check me on that. Well, do fact check me on that, but I know I'm wrong.
We'll put it in the video.
It was a lot though.
Yeah.
A lot of bots. Yeah, for sure.
And then my question is, what's your take on Twitter? How does Elon Musk Twitter buying affect its business and policy?
How does Elon's Musk?
Elon's Musk.
Elon's
New
Musk.
club.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of like Febreze, but I mean,
A new
How
cologne
does
by
Elon's
Tesla.
buying Twitter affect its business and policy, specifically for censorship? And then I want to add, just recently he put in a board for censorship, and they're all Democrats,
yeah.
as we know. So what's your opinion about Elon Musk?
So he's definitely cleaned house a little bit. I mean, he's fired a lot of useless people who were there just sitting there, like pretty much just enjoying life, getting paid like a crazy salary for really not doing much at all. So he's kind of found that out. He's found like, oh, so this is where Twitter's revenue is doing. This is where it's going. No way. Like, no. Like, this is stupid. This is why your stock prices were this low. This is why you underperformed in 2022. This is why, like, you're losing so many people, is because of the way this business is being run. And he's like, we need to keep freedom of speech in. I know he's against permabans. He's against permanently banning people off of Twitter. But I mean now the stock prices are getting higher than ever. Everyone hearing about Elon taking over just made the price go way up. I mean, Elon, wealth follows Elon everywhere. But I just feel like Twitter was a platform of censorship. Like, you saw a lot of people getting censored. There was no clearness on the algorithm of anything too, of like what they were putting out there, how they were identifying these things that were censorable. There was no like clarity on that. So now with Elon in charge, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. He said he might even show the algorithm to the public. Like, he might show that, and he's also looking at just not permanently banning people, like saying like, hey, don't do this. Hey, you shouldn't be saying this, unless it's something like absurd, right? But if it's just an opinion, let the opinion be heard, right? Even if it's stupid. Stupid opinions is an opinion, right?
Yeah.
All opinions should be heard so that they can be debated upon. And I feel like that's why Twitter's there in the first place, right? So that freedom of speech, and to see that online platform of people like arguing ideas. And I feel like that's what Elon Musk is kind of seeking after. I
just want to say before we move on that Putin is still on Twitter, that he's not banned.
Yeah. That's
that really gives you an idea.
Yeah, but
Donald Trump got banned before Putin.
You know, he got banned for the insurrection.
Yeah.
Right? or as what's his face put it?
Potato Head.
I don't remember, but the fall of democracy, right? Yeah. So as the Democrats put it, the fall of democracy.
What is your take on Twitter's censorship? I guess we already covered that, but what is your take on censorship in general? Excuse me. I mean, what place does censorship take in social media and big tech? So we're talking about private businesses.
Right.
So, like, where does freedom of speech end?
Yeah, like, where is the line? Where is it morally? Where? I guess there's two questions in here. Where is the line of free speech? And then, should big tech and Twitter follow that line, or since it's a private business, can they do whatever they want?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone's opinion should be heard, but if you are like calling to violence, like personal harm on somebody, then I feel like that's a point when you're like, hey, we can't do that, right? But if you're just giving an opinion, whether it be stupid, like Joe Biden, he's an idiot. He's been doing this, he's been doing that. he's so stupid. Like, he fell over on his bike, whatever. It's like, oh, that's hate speech. No, he's not calling to violence Joe Biden. He's not saying, oh, let's go and let's hurt Joe Biden. Let's go do this.
To clarify, can you define hate speech? Is that inciting violence, or is it just... Because hate speech is such a controversial term right now.
That's the thing, is that hate speech can really be taken as anything now, especially on the social media platforms, is whatever they deem hateful speech. Yeah. So if I were to make fun of a transgender, like the Babylon Bee did with Kylie Jenner, not Kylie Jenner, what's his name? I can't even remember his name.
The guy from Fox News. We all know who he is.
Transgender athlete.
Maybe not Fox News. No.
But it made fun of him, right? They were Thomas. Like, he won Woman of the Year or whatever, and it was like...
No, he won Man of the Year.
Man of the Year. It was that. It was like, he won Man of the Year, even though, like, he's a woman. And Twitter literally removed Babylon Bee off of its platform, banned them, and said, if you take this post down, then we'll unban you. And they were like, okay, we're willing to do that. But as soon as they were going to take it down, it has a list of, like, you agree that this was a bad thing to post. That's like what they had on there. It's like, you agree this was a bad thing to post, and you will never post something like this again, or something along those lines. And it's just like, no, obviously I'm not going to take it down. That you told me like it was the worst thing in the world, and it really wasn't. And that was hate speech, right? But really it was just a funny opinion. Like, Babylon Bee was satire. So, I mean, I feel like people are just too stuck up nowadays. And things can't be made fun of when they really should.
So you, to be clear, you do believe that big tech should censor, but where is the line? What should they censor, and what is free speech and what is unacceptable? What is hate speech, and should hate speech be banned, censored?
So inciting violence,
like
that's also a broad term. So I'd like to define that. So I'd say inciting violence is hate speech, or along those lines of if you are calling to hate somebody so much so that they are harmed, then that's when there's a problem, right? Like, we don't want to hurt people for their opinion or for their political standing, unless it's, I guess, a common enemy, and that's when, like, you can, like, for example, like, Putin. Like, we need to stand against Putin and what he's doing right now. Like, that's something everyone can agree on because he's doing a terrible thing.
So, the only problem I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
The only problem I have with that is that the general people do not always know what is good. So they could be in favor of, I don't think we should kill Putin personally, because that would cause a world war. Yeah. So even though a majority of people, I'm guessing, believe that, because sorry to say this, but a majority of voters aren't the most informed about foreign policy. Sorry, guys. Anyway, majority of voters aren't very invested in foreign policy, so I'm guessing the majority of people would want Putin killed by the U.S.
Right,
and that isn't technically a just opinion or a good opinion for the nation.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's not, but I say when in doubt, don't block or don't remove.
Exactly.
I feel like whenever it's like a controversial issue or one side saying this, one side saying that, you leave it up for debate. You let the people decide whether or not that's a good opinion, because like, that's the whole point of an opinion, right? It can be flawed, it can be stupid, but other people are supposed to point out that it's either flawed or stupid, and it can be backed up, it cannot be backed up. There are a lot of things like that resolve themselves, right? Because people are like, oh no, that's false because this and this, here's the source, right? So I feel like when in doubt, you just leave it there, you leave it up. But if you find out that it is fraudulent or anything like that, like you actually saw Elon Musk post something on Twitter that he ended up taking down about like 10 hours later because he found out like it was false, fake news, right? So even when people realize that that's false, then they should take it down, right? But that's up to the user. And I feel like the right thing to do is if you find out that's false, you can take it down. But really, the conflict will resolve itself when people find out that it is or is not false.
Braden, Micah, any opinions on such shit?
I would agree with the free speech thing. I think people should be able to say whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences for what you say.
Exactly.
You should definitely have the ability to voice any opinion that you have, whether that be hate speech or not.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be consequences for that.
What type of consequences? Is that like being banned or a strike?
I could see being banned being a consequence like that, especially for someone
Permanently?
who's that depends on the severity of whatever was said.
Yeah, I feel like for the permanent bans, like afterwards people realize they're wrong, and after like a while they'll be like, hey, can I like get my account back? No, like they don't allow you to get it back. I just wanted to address that real quick.
Continue.
Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean that's all I really have to say about that is, I mean, the fact that we have free speech, there's always going to be that risk of people being offended. Like that comes with the territory. And I don't think you should ever be able to ban anybody from anything because it offended somebody.
Yeah.
Even with a private company.
I don't think it matters. If you're not, like Keegan said, calling to physically harm somebody or destroy a company, like trash a building or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're not calling to break the law.
Yeah.
You could say that. Yeah. But again, if it's just opinions, it doesn't matter if it offends anybody because your pride's hurt.
Yeah.
Take it.
Well, I'm agreeing with you, but I would disagree about breaking the law because this actually ties into a debate Graydon, Keegan, and I are having in a few weeks of civil disobedience.
Oh, yeah.
So, got him. School while
I remember.
we're not doing school.
That hurt, Richie. That really hurt.
Why'd you have to remind us?
So what I'm saying is
you don't get to speak. You have 3 extra weeks.
Yeah.
3 extra weeks.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Because he has our week, and then he has the week that we're gone, and then the next week. Yeah, there's a break week.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cheater.
I know, it's great.
You have cheated,
it's
yes.
great.
All right. Anyway, what I'm saying is I agree with violence. I think violence, calling for outright violence in the sense of killing a person, injuring a person should not be allowed.
Yeah.
Either in a form of consequences, or that tweet will be forcibly taken down by the business tweet or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with your breaking the law thing though, because there are some times where either the government is corrupt and the people don't see it, and you have to break the law. In the case of civil disobedience in a democracy, there are always those exceptions where that it has to happen sometimes.
Yeah, if in fact that's why free speech was instituted by our founding fathers, is in case the government got corrupt, that it could be fixed by conversation between voters and citizens. And I think about abortion. If the Roe v. Wade decision that was overturned, if we didn't talk about this enough, if we didn't put the political pressure and the cultural pressure on the court to reevaluate the decision, there would have been no retraction of the removal of the whatever the legal term is of the decision. Okay, so I think civil disobedience, basically disagreeing with the government, should be allowed, even if it's stupid, even if it's if you're saying we should overthrow the government, not in a sense.
You shouldn't get banned for saying that.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if it gets to the point of you're actually planning a terrorist attack or a terrorist, an insurrection, not January 6th, but an actual insurrection. If you're planning that on hey guys, I'm gonna be at the Capitol this week. You guys want to come throw some water balloons at Joe Biden while he walks by? Whatever. knock him over by just looking at him. Anyway.
Breathe in his general direction. I feel like a gust of wind.
I think that should be banned because that's inciting violence on a person or on a person or a direct structure. But if you're like, hey guys, we're gonna protest because we don't believe the election results were legitimate, I don't think that should be banned because you're going against the government, and whether or not that's true that the election was illegitimate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that idea itself is like just it's kind of a dangerous idea once you start to say like, oh, the election is rigged. Like, never vote again because it's stupid because it's rigged in the first place. I mean, both sides of the party take that sometimes. Actually, a lot of the times, like, oh wow, the voter obviously wasn't informed, or oh man, I guess the voter had misinformation and then voted on that. Yeah. It's a dangerous idea, but it's not something that should be like censored because an idea is an idea, right? You're supposed to be able to look at that and say that's stupid, and then point out that's stupid, or say that's smart. Yeah. Why is that smart? Back it up, right?
So I think we can all agree on that inciting violence or direct violence should not be allowed. Yeah. Or should be the person who's inciting the violence should be punished for that statement. Micah, what do you think? Where's the line? Do you agree? What else do you think should be censored?
I do not have a fully fledged opinion on this.
That's all right.
I definitely think that inciting violence is wrong. Mm-hmm. So that civil disobedience thing, right? Whether somebody can go on Twitter and like, let's break the law. Yeah. Any sort of way. That is more of a. I mean, we're doing a whole debate over it, right? But generally, right? Like if you're planning something illegal, and then the police catch wind of it, well, they're gonna. Drag you down for doing something or for planning something illegal. Yeah. Ultimately, this free speech issue is the result of people not being able to govern themselves. Yeah. Right. People don't know
the lack of responsibility.
People aren't responsible. Yeah. People don't know what's right.
Yeah. People don't know how to govern themselves.
I think a good example of civil disobedience is JFK and his what's it called? Rights, not human rights. His work to end racism is basically what I'm saying.
The civil rights movement.
Yeah, civil rights movement. Thank you. He went against. He used civil disobedience in a legal way against
JFK or Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. I'm so sorry. MLK. He used civil disobedience in a legal way to go against something that was legal. So he was.
Both were assassinated.
Yeah. That was probably the connection. That was my mind just thinks like, was this person assassinated or not?
I mean, if so, they're the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Both. So what I'm saying is they went against something that was legal. Yeah. And maybe they didn't use Twitter, of course. We didn't have the internet back then, but
MLK. Yeah.
They used free speech and caused all this pressure on the politicians to end racism legally. So
and segregation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free speech issues naturally run into moral issues. Yeah. Because everybody has a different approach to morality.
Yeah, and we could do a whole argument on whether the government, whole podcast, on whether the government should legislate morality or what place is. Yeah, I know. That would be a great podcast.
What's morality? And
but we are out of time today. We are running on an hour 2 minutes, but that is the unedited version. So if you're hearing this right now, it may be 3 minutes. It may be 3 hours. I don't know. You never know around here.
If you hear me going, that's because Richie is skipping.
Dude, I'm just really good at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear that music.
That's like the best part of our podcast.
Yeah. And that song that Keegan just sung,
is copyrighted.
So
do not
I'm
steal that
sorry.
from us.
Yeah, no, we can't post
Yes,
that
we have the
anywhere.
copyright.
Yep, we have rightly copied
uncopyrighted.
it. We have definitely copied it on a piece of paper. It is our right,
Yep.
and we have copied it.
That was all right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us today, Keegan. We will have you back Sunday, I'm sure.
Yes.
For more
It'll be a
controversial
long
opinions.
time.
It will be. It'll be a while. You know, this was an interesting podcast, so we'll see how it goes. But
All right.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
Have
thanks
a
for
good
having
day
me on.
or night or whenever you're listening to this. Evening, morning, afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Breakfast time,
Breakfast.
lunch, dinner, supper, whatever you
Whenever.
call it, from
Yeah.
wherever you're listening.
Fade away. And see.
And cut. And that's a wrap, kids. No, that's the wrong button. Guys.
Goodbye.
Can we quote directly from articles?
Why not?
Is that legal?
Yeah, you just have to
Yeah.
cite the source.
Oh.